Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down. But why? London Bridge really always was in a spot of bother, whether it was on fire, being attacked, or simply falling down. So the current London Bridge is not actually the original London Bridge. The first London Bridge was built by the Romans in around 50 AD. It was down the river a little bit and it was made out of wood. There were various incarnations of the wooden bridge, a stone one in medieval times, moving towards a few more stone ones before we see the concrete one that we know today. And that's the one I cross over. My friend Porphyria, however, and her friend the Plague Doctor might cross over some of the earlier incarnations of the bridge, who knows. The stone one in medieval times was actually built between 1176 and 1209. It took 33 years to complete. This bridge had houses, shops, a chapel, and was always overcrowded. So it was almost like a mini village. This bridge was the scene of frequent fires, collapses, and even plague outbreaks. The stone London Bridge had all of these kind of piers sticking out at the bottom of the bridge into the river below. And this fact, coupled with the fact that the Thames used to be a lot wider, i.e. it was banked far wider than it is today, meant that the Thames froze over fairly often. If you can imagine the water freezing at very cold temperatures between all of these piers at the bottom of the bridge, and obviously these collections of bundles of ice made the water kind of stick to it and create even more icebergs that would then make the river itself easier to freeze. Also, it was colder back then. You know, they were going through kind of like a mini ice age at the time. So yeah, the river froze over, and they used to have fairs on the river, on the frozen river, where people would erect tents, play football, play skittles, and even light fires. So yeah, it sounded like quite a fun little party to have been in attendance at. So yeah, on the stone London Bridge, people actually lived on the bridge. There were houses, there were shops, and the three major buildings included a chapel, the drawbridge tower, and a stone gate. And it was the drawbridge tower that exhibited the heads of traitors. So there were these big pikes upon which they would stick heads of treacherous people. They actually used to douse their heads in tar so that they would be more resistant to the elements up there, and would last longer for people to be able to witness as they were coming over the south side of the bridge. So it must have served as a very kind of grisly entrance to the city of London, as people were, you know, walking towards the city itself. Famous heads include William Wallace, Thomas More, Thomas Cromwell, and Jack Cade. A German visitor to London, Paul Hentzner, counted over 30 heads on the bridge. I'm not going to do a German accent, but you can imagine it just for now. The whole is covered on each side with houses, so disposed as to have the appearance of a continued street, not at all of a bridge. On this is built a tower, on whose top the heads of such as have been executed for high treason are placed on iron spikes. We counted above 30. So yeah, next time I'm walking over London Bridge, from London Bridge into the city where I work, I'll be imagining those severed heads looking down at me, reminding me not to commit high treason. And it always makes me laugh too. There were also severed heads decorating the spikes around the Tower of London, which is obviously just near to the north side of London Bridge. So exactly where children play on the grounds and tourists stare up at the stone walls. It must have been a very gruesome time indeed. But there was no YouTube. There was no television. You know, what else were people to do for entertainment? There were two public latrines either end of London Bridge, south side and at the north side, and apparently they were used very frequently. But in 1481, one of the latrines fell into the Thames and 5 men drowned. So they got rid of the latrines in the end. As I cross the bridge in the morning, the city can be seen from London Bridge itself, dancing and unique in only the way that the London skyline can. And then on my way back down London Bridge towards South London, you can see the glass of the Shard building either reflecting the oranges and reds of the sunset to the west, or reflecting the ominous grey of the cloudy, dark, stormy skies, making it look like a massive pyramid of metal. In 1666, obviously, there was the Great Fire of London, and the bridge actually prevented the fire from spreading south, so protecting all of the South Londoners that we know today. So in 1831, a designer called John Rennie completed the design of the new London Bridge, which was made out of Cornish granite. So in 1896, the bridge was actually the busiest point in London and also one of its most congested. 8,000 pedestrians and 900 vehicles crossed it every hour. By the 20th century, the granite bridge became too weak for modern traffic. So in 1968, this granite bridge was actually sold to an oil baron in America. Yeah, it was sold to an American called Robert P. McCulloch. And he bought the bridge for $2.4 million. It was dismantled stone by stone and shipped to Lake Havasu City in Arizona, where it was reassembled and now stands as a tourist attraction, which is crazy because, I mean, you can go see London Bridge in Arizona. T.S. Eliot also immortalised it in his collection of poems, The Wasteland, in the line, "Under the brown fog of a winter dawn, a crowd flowed over London Bridge. So many, I had not thought death had undone so many." These lines appear in the first section, The Burial of the Dead. These lines, starting at line 61, describe the scene of a large crowd walking over London Bridge, seemingly oblivious to the despair and the emptiness that surrounded them. The speaker is struck by the sheer number of people, suggesting a sense of desolation and the idea that death had taken more lives than they had anticipated. He was actually comparing the shuffling of the commuters over London Bridge to those hell-bound souls of Dante's Inferno. God knows I am one of those commuters myself. I get to cross London Bridge every morning and cross it every evening. I get to cross it every morning on my way into work and cross it every evening on my way back. It was actually one of the only ways to cross the Thames until 1729, in fact, when Putney Bridge opened between London Bridge's place on the river and Kingston, which is substantially further away. As I say, I'm lucky enough to cross it every morning and every evening. There's something about crossing over water which sends all of the memories of the day lethywards downstream into the sea. Really good for cleansing the mind and aiding forgetfulness of the working day. Finally, 1973 gives rise to the modern London Bridge. Modern London Bridge is made of concrete and steel. It was opened by Queen Elizabeth II, God rest her soul, and it still stands today, carrying quite a lot of traffic. Modern stuff. The British warship HMS Jupiter collided with London Bridge, causing significant damage to the ship and the bridge. On Remembrance Day in 2004, several bridges in London were furnished with red lighting to commemorate Remembrance Day, commemorate the poppies. So quite a nice little tribute. On the 3rd of June 2017, 3 pedestrians were killed by a van in a terrorist attack. Altogether, 8 people died and 48 were injured. And this gave rise to the security barriers that you can see at the north and the south end of the bridge today. It basically tries to isolate the pedestrian pavement from any big vehicles coming off the road. London Bridge is falling down. You tell me, is it falling down for you, or is it staying very much upright? For me, it is a really beautiful way to cross the river. You've got St. Paul's to the west, the west, and you've got Tower Bridge to the east. Something that I dwell on every single day. And as I say, there's something so meditative and special about being able to cross water and just forget about life just for a sec. That concludes my missive on London Bridge today. I rather like it myself, and I hope you do too. Don't forget to subscribe for more food, poetry, and stuff. Mwah, 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 mwah.